I want to add my word of welcome to all of you that have come tonight. It's a wonderful place to be. They said, oh, when you get to Denver, it's a mile high, you won't be able to preach because the air is so thin. Last night I wanted to preach on another hour. But this air suits me just fine. I love it and love Colorado, and am grateful for the invitation to be back. And about 22 years from now, we'll accept another invitation back. They'll roll me in a wheelchair out. Now tonight, the 102nd Psalm, and beginning with verse 5. Well, say just 6. I'm like a pelican of the wilderness. I'm like an owl of the desert. I watch and am as a sparrow alone upon the housetop. Today, I went for a few minutes out into the foothills and took a little walk down a little road. I didn't want to go too far because they told me there were rattlesnakes around there. I'm not a friend of rattlesnakes for some reason. No, they're not my friend. We have a lot of them where I live, so we have experience with them. I let my wife kill those. And she does. She's not afraid of, well, she's not afraid of anything that I ever heard of. But she's certainly not afraid of snakes. She was born and reared in China, in a town that she said she never went to sleep a single night that she didn't hear gunshots. And so she learned not to be afraid, because she's never saw fear in her father and mother, because the town would change hands every once in a while as bandits or warlords would come in, and then finally the Japanese came, and my father-in-law had a big hospital and he lived through all that, and she was there 17 years. But I want to say that today, as I walked out on that little place, I began to think and meditate a little bit, and I watched a bird. I don't know the name of that bird. It's a big bird and it has different colors. It may be a magpie, I'm not sure, but it certainly has a strange sound to North Carolina ears. And then the bird sat on a fence post, and he sat there by himself. No mate came around. Now, we have a lot of doves where I live, and as you know, they mate for life, and they go around together, and they have friendship and fellowship, and produce little children, little birds. And but this bird today seemed to be all alone, and I thought about this passage of Scripture that's found in the 102nd Psalm. I'm like a pelican in the wilderness. I'm like an owl in the desert. I watch and am as a sparrow alone upon the housetop. You know, tonight there are many lonely people here, many single people in the city of Denver. 51% of your population is single, and many of those people are lonely. And one of the supreme problems of modern society is loneliness. The modern city is a lonely place. Here in America, 70% more people are living alone in one-person dwellings than 10 years ago. A New York psychiatrist was quoted the other day as saying, New York City is the loneliest place in the world for millions. What would you say about Denver or the town you come from? An American university study reported that university students are the loneliest people in the United States, followed by divorced people. Are you lonely? One of the principal causes of loneliness is alcoholism and drug use. Alcohol and drugs are efforts to escape loneliness. Drugs take you on a trip, and being drunk makes you feel that you've got somebody with you. On the other hand, going with Christ is a trip in which you really always have Jesus with you as your Lord and companion. You cannot drink your way out of loneliness. Most young people turn to drugs for kicks and get hooked, or peer pressure. But thousands turn to drugs because of loneliness. A magazine cover story recently had our neglected youth. It said that actually most of them are properly clothed and fed, but something is missing in the lives of millions. It's a neglect of the spirit, the article said, which leaves them lonely and prone to drugs and alcohol, but all too often leads to suicide. What can be done about it? One of the key words in the Bible is communion, from which we get our word communication. Jesus came to a man one time that was lonely and sick and paralyzed. 38 years he'd sat in the same spot, lonely and tired, without a friend. And Jesus looked at him and said, "Do you need a friend?" And he said, "Yes." This bundle of loneliness and human pain had been buffeted by the surging tides of thousands of people. But Jesus singled him out. He became his friend that day and he healed him. He can become your friend tonight if you'll let him. I remember when former President Eisenhower was in Denver. In 1952, he came here to prepare for his campaign. He'd been nominated to be President of the United States. It had been my privilege early in the year to be his guest in Paris at SHAPE headquarters, and he invited me out here to Denver. And I came out here and spent some time with him. I gave him a red Bible, which was remarked about in the press because he always kept it at his bedside. And I suggested to him that he join a church. He said, "No," he said, "I don't belong to a church," but he said, "If I join now, it would look political." He said, "I promise you that as soon as the election is over, win or lose, I'm going to join a church." And I said, "What denomination do you think you'd be?" He said, "Well, I don't know," but he said, "My wife is Presbyterian." He said, "Do you know any good Presbyterian churches in Washington?" And I said, "Yes, I certainly do." To make a long story short, he joined a church, and the minister baptized him publicly. As President of the United States, he took a public stand for Christ, and he chose as his favorite hymn, "What a Friend We Have in Jesus." What a friend we have in Jesus was his favorite hymn. Loneliness is an inner dimension. It's a thirst of the Spirit. And the root of loneliness are within each of us tonight. A poll recently revealed that fear and loneliness take over a child's life when a parent suddenly vanishes from the scene. Whether it's a